Happy birthday to you. If it is your birthday today on March 2nd, we're going to take a look at some other people who are celebrating their birthday with you. I'm not even sure if I need to introduce this guy. Everybody should know Dr. Seuss, but you probably have never seen the face behind the cat in the hat. And Horton Hears a Who, and The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, and Fish 1, Fish 2, Fish 3. Well, it's happy birthday to Dr. Seuss, and that's why we celebrate Read Across America Day. So, happy birthday, Dr. Seuss. We love you. Some of you may know Marc Silvestri, and some of you may not know that he is the one who has designed Wolverine and comic book covers for Marvel Comics. Marc started out at DC Comics and eventually made his way to Marvel Comics, where he designed the cover of their comic books with Wolverine and recreating X-Men in 2004. Happy birthday, Marc. Now we're going to look at some legendary musicians, beginning with Eddie Money, who was born in 1949. He had some great hit songs in the 70s and 80s, and one of his most popular songs was Take Me Home Tonight. And then we have Karen Carpenter. She was born in 1950, and she actually was in a band named after her and her brother, the Carpenters. And she was a legendary singer who had a tragic life with body issues, unfortunately. But she was born on this day, and an incredible talent was lost when she passed away. But happy birthday to Eddie and Karen. A couple more musicians here. Jay Osmond was born in 1955. He was part of the Osmond Brothers, and you may not know him very well because his brother Donnie and his sister Marie have become the famous ones in the 70s. Donnie and Marie had their own show. But before they had their own show, they actually had a musical group called the Osmond Brothers. So, happy birthday to Jay Osmond. And you may know this gentleman here, John Bon Jovi, simply known as Bon Jovi mostly because he's the head man for Bon Jovi. He was born in 1962. He has been doing music since I've had big hair. And that was a really, really long time ago when big hair was popular. So he actually was part of the big hair movement and he is still rocking today. Happy birthday, Jay and John. On to some sports figures who are celebrating their birthday today. We're looking at two football players. Running back Reggie Bush for the Buffalo Bills, and he also played with the San Francisco 49ers and Miami Dolphins and the Detroit Lions. He also won the Heisman Trophy when he played college football at USC. Okay, now everybody knows Ben Roethlisberger, right? I mean, how can you not know Ben Roethlisberger? Number 7, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Boo. Sorry, I don't like the Steelers. I'm a Packers fan. But he was born in 1982, and he became the youngest Super Bowl winning quarterback in NFL history, leading the Steelers in only his second professional season. He has won numerous Super Bowls, so he is a legend, legendary quarterback in the NFL. If you love football, you know you're excited about these two birthdays today. And Ben is also known for playing outside the pocket in what he calls backyard football. If it's a nice day today, go out and play some backyard football like Ben Roethlisberger. All right, let's take a look at some world leaders who are celebrating their birthday today on March 2nd. We're going to begin with somebody who was a king of Scotland. In 1316, he was called Robert II, and he was the grandson of Robert Bruce and the first in the house of the Stuart dynasty in Scotland, which lasted a very, very long time until eventually King James, who was the King of England, and who the Bible was named after, the King James Version, came from this Stuart line by Mary Queen of Scots. But that's an entirely different story and one of my favorite ones of kings and queens. All right, so now we're going to move on to popes. We have two popes that are celebrating birthdays on this day, and one of them had a great birthday because he actually became pope on his birthday on March 2nd, 1939, and that's Pope Pius the 12th. And we know it's the 12th by the Roman numerals X and then the two large I's. So the X stands for a 10, and the two large I's are like 1 and 2. They count as 1. So there's a little math for you. You can study some Roman numerals today. He was born in 1876 and became pope on March 2nd, 1939, and he was pope until he passed away in 1958. He was very connected with Germany, and so much so that a lot of people believe that he was in cahoots with the Nazis and Adolf Hitler, and trying to make sure that nobody would join the war so that Germany would win. Now, that's, again, there's a lot of stories about popes out there that aren't very true, but are true. Some just are rumors because they want to make someone look bad, and that is something that typically happens when someone becomes pope. They get a lot of people, especially if you are from a different country, you're going to get a lot of kickback from people. And this was something that happened to him, as well as most other popes. So it could have just been a rumor, because we had another pope who had a lot of kickback from Germans and Italians and Turkish, and that was Pope Adrian VI. Now we know it's the 6th because the V stands for a 5, and again we see that capital I, which represents 1. So 5 plus 1, and that is 6. So Pope Adrian VI, he was born on March 2nd, 1459, and they really actually called him Hadrian with an H, Hadrian VI. His real name was Adrian Florenzun Boyens, and he died in 1923 as Pope. He was the only Dutch Pope, and he was elected in 1522. He was the last non-Italian Pope until the election of John Paul II in 1978. Now, it was really a big thing if you weren't Italian and being a pope, because of course, as you know, Rome is in Italy. But he tried reforming the church, and he got a lot of opposition by the Italian cardinals, the German Protestants, and the Turkish armies. And it always seemed for many, many years that Rome or Italy or anything to do with Catholicism always was fighting an army with the Turkish armies, which were Muslims. So there was always a lot of conflict between those two religions, as there still is today. Okay, and our last famous world figure we're going to look at today is Mikhail Gorbachev. He was the General Secretary of the Soviet Union Communist Party from 1985 to 1991. He was also the first democratically elected president in 1990. He played a key role in dismantling the communist grip on the power in both the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. His aspirations for democracy and reform opened up the way for the end of the Cold War and the bringing down of the Berlin Wall. I actually got this from biographyonline.net. He was removed from presidential office in 1991 during a failed coup attempt. Since leaving office, Gorbachev has worked tirelessly promoting new efforts at social justice and concern for the environment through his own organization, the Green Cross. He was also awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in October of 1990. Happy birthday to all these world figures. Last but not least is one of my favorite old time actors. If you have never seen I Love Lucy, you've got to ask your mom and dad to show you some episodes because you will fall over laughing. Now, Desi Arnaz, he played the husband on the show of I Love Lucy. He played a very famous Cuban bongo player at a club in New York City. And he was married to Lucy. And Lucy is actually Lucille Ball, and they were married in real life. And their story is an amazing story, one of love and tragedy and heartache. But they loved each other till death, just as they promised in their vows. Desi Arnaz was born in 1917, and when he was acting, nobody really even wanted him to play this role. A lot of people didn't think that he would really, that Americans wouldn't relate to an American, all time American girl like Lucille Ball to a Cuban man. So they didn't think that the audience was really going to take them into their homes. But little did they know how funny that this would become because it always plays around his celebrity and she always wants to become a star herself. So she's always trying to get into the limelight. Originally, the show was going to air as her being the famous person and the husband being the one who was always sitting in the background and trying to be famous himself. But they eventually turned that story around and they did put Desi in, and it was a great fit, a perfect fit, because they were married in real life. So a lot of the moments that you see in the show are real. It's really raw, and especially that an episode where um, she tells Desi that she's pregnant with their baby, and she really was pregnant at that time. So she really does cry, and it's a very sentimental moment for them. Um, and because of the show, it was on CBS. Desi Arnaz really just kind of jumped on the bandwagon. He just didn't want to be an actor. He really wanted to pursue more, and he became the producer of the Lucille Ball or I Love Lucy, and eventually the Lucille Ball show, amongst other shows of that day and age, like Andy Griffith, I believe, and I'm trying to think right now, the Dick Van Dyke Show. They were called Desi Lou Productions, which really meant Desi and Lucy. So they owned this production company and they actually made Hollywood history in the way that they filmed TV shows. They were um, very new in what they were doing, and he transformed the filming industry forever. So Desi is not only known for a great actor and being a funny guy in I Love Lucy, but he is also very talented and um, skilled in science, I would believe, because he came up with this new idea of how to film shows. So happy birthday, Desi. We really miss you, and I miss Lucy too. But I love Lucy, and I love Desi, and I love you, and I hope you all have a great, wonderful, happy birthday today.